Welcome to the Eat Better, Move Better, Live Better podcast presented by Flourish with Tracy, where we'll dive into the realms of holistic wellness, plant-based nutrition, yoga, and self-care to help you live your best life. Tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our special segments. Meditation Monday. Start your week with mindfulness. Wellness Wednesdays. Get the midweek boost you need. Sadhana Saturdays. Dedicate weekends to personal growth. Join us as we explore and discuss all things to eat better, move better, and live better. Welcome. Today, we're going to discuss a topic that affects every cell in our body. It's essential for our energy, our health, and our longevity. It's our blood sugar. And oftentimes when we hear that term, we think of diabetes. And we'll chat a little bit more about that in a moment. However, blood sugar actually means our glucose. And glucose provides the energy that we need throughout our day, the ability to focus, how our mood or cravings may be, the quality of our sleep, weight, immune system, even how we age are all influenced by how well or how effectively our body manages or regulates blood sugars or glucose. So today we're going to talk about managing glucose effectively. Glucose is just simple sugar. It's your body's preferred source for fuel. And every time we consume a food that contains a carbohydrate, our digestive system breaks it down into glucose. And that can be from fruit, breads, potatoes, pastas, sweets, beans. There are several sources. There's a difference, though, between a simple and a complex carbohydrate and whether the sugar source is beneficial or not. Either way, once glucose enters our bloodstream, it moves into the cells to be used as energy. And this process requires a hormone called insulin. Insulin acts like a key, and it unlocks the cell so that the glucose can enter. And when everything is functioning properly, the glucose rises after a meal. Your insulin will respond to unlock the cell. The cell will absorb the glucose, and then the blood sugar will return to normal. And the body is constantly working to maintain this balance, and this process occurs over and over consistently throughout your life. And why is it important? Because without fuel, you won't be able to move, correct? You won't be able to function. Glucose matters. Your brain uses significant amounts of glucose to function. Your muscles, your organs, even while sleeping, your body is requiring glucose. The problem isn't the glucose. The problem is instability with managing it correctly. Large spikes followed by large crashes all place stress on your body. So it's important to manage it effectively and efficiently. And unfortunately, some of our modern eating patterns creates an intensity that throws off the ability to utilize our blood sugars correctly, resulting in too much at a specific time, which is a spike. And when we have repeated spikes with our glucose, our blood sugar will rapidly rise. Then the body's going to try to compensate by responding with a large release of insulin. And often it overshoots it, and then we crash because the blood sugar falls too quickly. We can have fatigue, cravings, irritability, or hunger. And then the mistake that many of us make is that we then consume more sugar. And this is a roller coaster. And the long-term effect of these spikes can contribute to insulin resistance, weight gain, chronic inflammation, fatty liver disease, cardiovascular concerns, cognitive decline, and type 2 diabetes. High glucose can also increase oxidation within the body, and oxidative stress damages cells, and that accelerates your aging. Your body is very resilient. However, excessive spikes in blood sugar or glucose increases the stress and the strain on your body. So let's talk a little bit about insulin resistance. First, let's clarify what insulin resistance is, because many often either confuse or assume that insulin resistance is the same as diabetes and assume that they are synonymous. And this is not necessarily the case. Insulin resistance can exist for years before or even if diabetes develops. So this is important when understanding how to manage glucose effectively. Insulin resistance is a condition in which the body's cells become less responsive to insulin. And type 2 diabetes develops when the body cannot produce enough insulin to overcome the resistance. It's a condition of insulin resistance. The difference also is to understand that type 2 diabetes is not the same as type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is not caused by diet, weight, or lifestyle habits. It's an autoimmune condition or disorder where the immune system attacks the cells of the pancreas that produces insulin. And as a result, there is no ability by the body or the pancreas to produce the insulin, and the glucose remains in the bloodstream. So this is quite different than type 2 diabetes. So for our conversation today, we are focusing on managing glucose effectively that is caused by diet, weight, and lifestyle habits. And that is what impacts type 2 diabetes. So we discussed that when insulin levels remain at an elevated state for a long period of time, the cells may not respond to them in the manner that they originally may have when they were healthier. So then the pancreas is going to try to compensate to produce more insulin, and then this cycle continues. And that's the insulin resistance, where the insulin no longer is effective. And over time, that could possibly lead to diabetes, type 2. That is increased abdominal fat, elevated glucose levels, energy crashes, difficulty with losing weight. And the good news is lifestyle changes, how you move, how you eat, and how you take care of yourself can dramatically change the insulin sensitivity. So how do you manage that? You begin with a healthy idea of how to regulate your glucose. It's not about immediately eliminating carbohydrates. The goal is to choose your carbohydrates wisely, and you do so by prioritizing your protein. Proper protein intake helps slow your digestion and promotes being satisfied. Proteins reduce the size of your glucose spikes when you eat them with your meal, and aim to include a protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some people think that protein is just meat. It's only one source. Other sources are also plant-based. You can eat beans and lentils and fermented foods. The second one is to increase your fiber. Your fiber kind of acts like a speed bump. It slows the sugar down and slows down the digestion and how your body absorbs that sugar. And the excellent source of fiber is going to be fruits and vegetables. Also, chia and flax seeds. Most people don't eat enough fiber. And taking in fiber is one of the simplest, easiest ways to improve how you manage your glucose levels. And then the third one is healthy fats. They slow down your stomach feeling empty, and they support you feeling satiated. Healthy fats will be seeds, nuts, avocados. And then reduce or eliminate ultra-processed foods. Eating whole foods will generally stabilize your glucose. And this is going to be whole fruits and vegetables, beans, whole grains, lean protein, nuts and seeds. Whenever possible, eat your foods as close to their natural state. So we discuss foods that help regulate or maintain a lower blood sugar level. Let's talk about what spikes it. First and foremost, let's talk about fruit. Fruit in its natural state does not spike your glycemic index. That is a myth. Eating fruits actually help stabilize and lower. Now, outside of fruit, that does not mean fruit juice. Fruit juices become liquid sugar, and that will enter your bloodstream rapidly. And now a lot of times we're speaking of not fresh, cold pressed juice. We're talking about processed juices that have a lot of other things added in there to boost the sweetness. And this also includes sodas, teas, energy drinks, sweetened coffee beverages. They create some of the largest glucose spikes. And then refined grains, white breads and rice, pastries, sugary cereals. The fiber in these foods have been removed to allow for quicker digestion. Of course, refined sugars, processed sugars, and that's going to impact cookies and cakes and ice creams and candy bars. And we overconsume these things, which then can increase the glucose levels. And this is the same for high processed snack foods, chips, cakes, granola bars, very processed and engineered to be more palatable than to stabilize your blood sugar. So it's about how you eat and how often you eat, as much as is what you eat. Healthy management of your glucose doesn't require that you have to give up all of your desserts. You can still enjoy your food. The objective is just reducing the frequent large spikes. There is nothing wrong with an occasional treat that is balanced with a healthy, regular eating pattern that will reduce or eliminate daily sugar spikes. So eat your food in an order, a sequence. Your glucose responds when you eat your meals in a specific order. You eat your vegetables first, you eat the proteins and healthy fats second, and you eat the starches and sugars last. Why? Because fiber and protein slow down the digestion, and this reduces the speed at which glucose enters the bloodstream. For example, Instead of eating your bread first with the meal, begin with the salad and then follow with the protein. You'll notice your energy changed, and you'll notice your cravings are different. And then the other thing that we should also speak about is the importance of your physicality, movement. Your muscles are major consumers of your glucose. When your muscles contract, they pull the glucose from your bloodstream, and this movement will lower your blood sugar naturally. So, get up and move. You can walk after a meal. It is one of the most effective, underrated strategies. A quick 10 to 20 minute walk after a meal is a simple habit, but it can significantly reduce post-meal spikes in your glucose. You don't need any special equipment. You don't have to have a gym membership. Just walk. If you do want to do something a little more strenuous, you can. Your muscles act as a storage site for your glucose. So the more healthy muscle you build and maintain, the better your glucose regulation will be. So you can do exercises in your chair or bodyweight exercises. Of course, you can do weight training. You can also use resistance band. Any type of strength training will improve your sensitivity to insulin. And doing it daily, it matters. Any sort of movement will be of benefit to your body. Standing, stretching, just doing your household chores and taking the stairs instead of the elevator makes a difference. A small amount of movement performed consistently can often outperform intense workouts that you just do every now and then or sporadically. And here are a couple additional lifestyle factors that helps you. Sleep. One night of inadequate sleep can affect how your blood sugar is regulated. However, proper sleep will decrease insulin resistance. So go for the consistent sleep schedule and the dark sleeping environment. And then, of course, managing your stress. Chronic stress increases cortisol, and we spoke about that in a previous episode. Cortisol then will raise your blood sugar because that's your fight or flight survival mechanism because the body's preparing for action, so it needs energy. When we live in chronic stress, then our blood sugar levels will remain elevated. So counter that with slower movements to manage stress, meditation, stretching, breath work, yoga, Pilates, grounding outside in nature, journaling, practicing your spirituality, and then hydrating. When you are dehydrated, you can negatively affect your glucose. Water helps support circulation and your metabolism. So, here's a simple plan. When you wake up in the morning, do a gentle stretching, slight movement, hydrate the moment you wake up, get a glass of water, have a protein-rich breakfast. For your lunch, have vegetables, a protein source, a whole food carbohydrate. And in the afternoon, choose a protein-based snack and stay hydrated. Nuts, great snack, or seeds. And for dinner, avoid excessive late-night eating. Make sure your plate is balanced. And then after your meals, walk. Reduce your stress before you go to sleep and prioritize that sleep. Those small habits, when you do them consistently, will outperform any complicated management plan. There is, however, a point when you should seek professional guidance or help from a healthcare professional or holistic wellness practitioner. And that is if you are experiencing frequent urination, you are losing weight and you don't know why, you are consistently tired or fatigued, you notice a change in your vision, or you're excessively thirsty. If you have a family history of diabetes, or if your blood sugar levels are elevated, you may need testing to check your metabolic panels, what your insulin levels are, and this may help you identify or detect if there is something more serious going on. Remember, blood sugar and glucose is not your enemy. You need glucose. Blood sugar, glucose is a life-sustaining fuel. You have to put fuel in your tank so that you can get up and go. The objective, however, is to balance it effectively. Every meal is an opportunity to support your body's intelligence. Your body already knows what it needs. Support it properly by feeding it properly. Walking after each meal will help your body do the rest of the work. Get sleep and drink water. Choose whole foods more often. Eat adequate protein and increase your fiber. Reduce your stress. Move regularly and consistently. When you manage your glucose effectively, you will feel more energetic, focused, and resilient. You will thrive on being balanced. Learning how to work with your glucose rather than against it is one of the most powerful ways to create that balance. Thank you for sharing time and space today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's insights help you on a personal journey towards a healthier, happier life. Don't forget to join every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for more self-care and holistic wellness tips. Before you go, make sure to comment, click the bell, like, and subscribe buttons for upcoming episode notifications. Be sure to always consult a medical professional before making any major changes regarding your health, diet, or routine. In the meanwhile, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, every step you take is one step closer to a better you. Until next time, keep flourishing, and as always, may all be well.